This is another one of those images that is of vital importance to me, personally as well as professionally, because this image is one of several that caused me to end a relationship with an agency that I had worked with on and off for about 32 years, the majority of my career, really, because the images I was submitting from Standing Rock, I was showing both people that were being pepper sprayed and all of that, but that was such a small part of what was going on. And so I was showing the other images of what was really going on, the majority of it, this image being one of them. And finally, the agency said to me, "Look, David, the work is great, but unfortunately, the majority of what you're showing us, what you're sending to us, doesn't fit the narrative." And this was one of those images. There's not my agency and countless other magazines, both physical magazines and online magazines, would not touch this image because it did not fit the narrative. And that's basically the verbatim quote I got from everybody. It doesn't fit the narrative. Everybody wanted to show the violence, again, the pepper spraying and all kinds of other things that existed, but not in the context it was presented. So again, this image means a lot to me personally and professionally. And what the image is that there was a day when a large group of protesters went to the North Dakota Capitol. And it's difficult to explain, I guess, in a sense, but as you look at this to the left of the green mall, the green grassy area, then there was a slope that went up, a steep slope that went up pretty high, and at the top of that slope was the Capitol building. And, they knew, because a permit had to be obtained, they knew that the protesters were coming. And so they had set these orange cones up in a straight line, from left to right across the grass mall area. And the protesters were gathered and they were having speeches and everything else. And then the state police came down dressed in full riot gear. And when they got to the mall side, or I'm sorry, the Capitol building side of the orange cones, they turned to their right and they went single file and created this road of police officers that you can see in the photograph. And then they got onto the bullhorn and they said very peacefully, they said to the protesters, "Look, you can be here as long as you want and you can protest as much as you want peacefully, but you cannot cross to our side of the cones. If you do, then we will be forced to arrest you. Those are our orders." And someone, and I never know, to this day, don't know who, but one of the protesters, one of the natives, had this brilliant concept they came up with on the spur of the moment. And they said they gathered the protesters together and quietly said, "Look, let's change the paradigm." That's the key. I want to repeat that. Let's change the paradigm. And they didn't use those exact words, but that was essentially what they were saying. And he said, "What we're going to do is we are going to line up single file and walk towards the orange cones. And when we get to the edge of the orange cones, we're going to just walk past them, turn left, and we're going to walk down the line of state police officers. And we're going to stop at each one and reach out their hand and say, 'Thank you for being here to protect us.'" And there's the paradigm shift. They could have said, "Why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why don't you listen?" Yada, yada. But they didn't. Instead, they took a different approach, a passive approach, a different perspective altogether. Instead of saying, "Why are you here to harm us?" they instead said, "Thank you for being here to protect us." That's a huge shift. And as each protester walked the line, I was blown away. I was blown away. To this moment, I'm blown away because each police officer responded favorably. There were a couple of police officers that were reluctant, but they went along with it. But most of them, all but I think two that I witnessed, fully and authentically engaged, reaching out their hand to thank those protesters for what they were doing in that moment. And then as this line of protesters went down, one after another, I saw this mother with her young daughter that you see in this photograph. And, each officer reached down to shake that little girl's hand, but this officer actually bent down as close as he could get in full riot gear to her physical level. And he shook her hand and said hello to her. I'm getting choked up just thinking, reliving this moment. It was powerful. And he engaged with her. And you see the mother, she's a little apprehensive about this happening, rightfully so, but she allowed it to happen. And magic happened. Magic happened on that day. Unfortunately, we know how the protest ended, but, not that day, but overall, at the end of the No Dapple protest. But that moment was a moment that changed hearts on both sides. And that is personally and professionally one of the reasons that this image is so important to me.